I want to talk about plank bending. I was watching a video of a guy's build of his hull, um, doing not too bad a job at the planking, but he was talking about not wanting to wet his planks. Now, I mean, there's a variety of methods to bend planks. I think I've heard of isopropyl alcohol, which I haven't used, and wetting your planks, which I think is the most common, and steaming either with a wet plank or just steaming it dry. And I think that you can just benefit yourself so much by getting comfortable with wetting your planks, wrapping them around something. In fact, that's sort of part of the thing is setting up some sort of jig so that you can wet your planks. And I think you can get away with not, you can try and not steam at first. Save yourself the hassle. Wet 10 planks at once, wet 20 planks at once. Put them over some plastic tub, metal sheet that you've bent to the correct shape. Use elastics, use whatever you need to do, covering the area so that they will just stay on that surface and dry out, and you'll gain some form of bending. If you're lucky, there won't be too much spring back, but usually you have to bend more than you actually wanted. So if I wanted that bend, I'd probably need to have it wet and placed over something about double the bend. But the big thing is that when you are putting these planks onto your hull, you've got the residual stresses of forcing this bend. Even if you've glued it, that's got that stress waiting there in the plank. Over years, of course, or months or years, depending on how humid your climate is, the plank gradually sort of eases itself out such that it reduces the stresses in the plank. But if you're building a hull with a lot of these thickish planks, without bending them, without preforming them, wetting them, steaming them, you're putting, even though you might be, well, I mean, you should be doing symmetrical work, one this side, one that side, so that you're evening out the forces, but you've still got those residual stresses in the planks. And it's just so much easier if you are not building in those stresses. If you, to a large degree, have the plank conforming to the shape that you want. That's really all I wanted to say is get familiar with plank bending. Get a bunch of planks which you don't mind damaging maybe a little bit, and wet them and steam them. Spend a whole session finding out where the particular planks that you're using will break, will bend nicely. Just get used to the behavior of the wood that you're working with. Not, of course, all the woods behave differently. These first layer planks, and depending on the type of the wood that you're using, this is a bit of a thicker one. This is a smaller and thinner one. Will handle the bending differently. Find out how much spring back you get if you wet your plank more. If you dip it in water and take it out, you've sort of barely wet the surfaces. The water hasn't seeped in much, versus soaking them for an hour in the bath first, or something to that effect. I mean, you don't need to go crazy, but just practice with wetting your planks, laying them across taping them or fixing them across a surface for days so that they can gain curvature in the way that you want. I mean, in this case, this plank is only bent like that. It might be that this also needed a twist to conform to certain aspects of the hull. But, for each part of the plank, for each part of the curvature that you can aid the process by having the plank preformed, the better for your planking process and the better for your hull. On on this build, which I'm about to do the planking, where my bulkheads are fairly thin, even if I end up beefing them up a little bit, I'd like to have the minimum amount of stresses on my hull. There are cases like that Victory where the bulkheads are really strong, the keel is very strong, and sure, you can get away with it because your structure is stronger than the planks, but still, help yourself by preforming your planks. Cheers!